Well, having the properties under management with Gemstone, there was honestly, I didn't really have a lot of options managing the properties myself because I don't actually live in Tennessee. So I live out of state. So this was very much an investment opportunity for me, and I was recommended to contact Gemstone from a good realtor friend of mine who helped me actually acquire the properties. Gemstone had a fantastic reputation. For me, the cost seemed extremely reasonable for a company that was going to give my clients, in other words, the people who are going to be renting from me, 24/7 service. They were phenomenal about setting up all of the financial stuff. Everything was clear and transparent. And for me, it was very important that I had kind of, if you want to call it, comprehensive care of my tenants and also of the properties, and Gemstone kind of provided all of that. It was kind of a no-brainer.
Awesome.
Well, I think that if I had tried to manage these properties myself, I think it would have been kind of a nightmare because whenever you own property, there is always going to be something that's going to break, something that's going to need to be fixed, something that's going to need to be fitted, and trying to find local contractors to do that, especially out of state or even in state, can be really, really tricky unless you are actually in the business itself. And so the beauty of Gemstone is they have such a neat setup because if something goes wrong, you are contacted by John, who actually goes ahead and is involved in managing anything that's broken. They go ahead and they send you an email saying, hey, here's a problem, needs your attention. You log into the email, you go into the portal, you can see what the problem is. You already have a quote, which is very competitive for what needs to be done. And then you can either say, yes, I okay this, which honestly, I've never had to decline it. And then they just go ahead and take care of the problem for you.
Can you think of an actual dollar amount that you're getting now annually between your three properties that are under management?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the properties are each rented out around 2,500 a month. So if you subtract management fees and then you subtract HOA fees, then pretty much I would say I am taking home probably about 1,800 per property a month. Yep. So pretty much, I mean, I expect a check to come through that's going to be 50. Was it 3 3 8 24? So like I'm gonna be getting like say 5,500 a month coming through from Gemstone. I usually get a notification. I know when it's coming in. And then the beauty of it too is I get an owner's statement every month from Rentvine. I can go in there, and the beauty of Rentvine is you can look at each property, and there's a nice breakdown of charges from HOA fees to cleaning to management fees. And then the nice thing at the end of the year, you can compare all three properties and see what is needed to be done and maybe identify, is there a specific, issue with one property. But that's also very, very useful when it comes to accounting for the accountant at the end of the year, because I can just print out the whole detail for them. So it makes my life an awful lot easier from that front as well for reporting to the IRS. So it's awesome because you can just look at everything and compare apples to apples on all three properties each year.
So it sounds like, from my calculation, $66,000 a year, 5,500 times 12.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yes, that or closer to 70,000 a year for the three. Yeah,
that's wonderful. So, what would you say to someone who's worried about the management fee eating into their profit?
I think that the management fee is kind of a no-brainer when you consider what you're getting, because unless you are going to be someone who wants to be basically hands-on round the clock for the tenants, and the nice thing about Gemstone is if there's a problem, they can call night or day, so you know that your tenants have been taken care of, and so you can actually charge decent rents and get good quality people in there because they know they're going to be taken care of. So it kind of it honestly balances out. And the good thing too about Gemstone is you have people like Madeline who knows all the comps for all of the different properties in the area. So if you have a tenant moving out, she knows what is appropriate to get another tenant in. And so my feeling is I would rather charge, a reasonable price and have the places occupied all the time rather than trying to get an extremely high price and have the places open for months. And so my properties are occupied all the time. And I've had that chat with Madeline and she knows. So she doesn't even have to ask me if a property's open. I'll say, hey, just do whatever you need to do to get someone in there. But she makes sure that it's a good rent, but not extortionate. So it costs you a lot more to have a property empty for several months than to have them occupied at a reasonable rent. So she's got her head screwed on. She knows what she's doing. And so she's done a phenomenal job for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really smart and something that, it takes some people a while to kind of grasp that concept. That
Louis is phenomenal too. Louis is in
Mhm.
contact with me if there's an issue, and he's like, "Hey, if a tenant moving out, he gives me the heads up." And so they're very, very good. And if there's a problem with a tenant, then Gemstone is phenomenal about letting me know. For example, we had one tenant who decided that she wasn't going to pay on time. And Gemstone was all over that, and with threat of legal action, she was back on track pretty quickly and
Mhm.
paid the legal fees. So they're all over it. And if there's a client who something happens, then I have a good personal relationship with both you, Matt, Madeline, Louis, and John. And so if there's an issue, a major issue, which fortunately we really haven't had for the most part, then you guys are on the phone rather than an email and say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you want to do? Yeah, it's a fantastic team.
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. And so if someone was on the fence about hiring a property management company, what would you tell them?
I would say unless you are in the field of buying and selling real estate and you are a handyman and you really want to be involved with your tenants, then my feeling is hiring Gemstone's a no-brainer, because the reality is they do all the advertising for the property. They go ahead, they interview the tenants, they make sure that they are financially solvent. They know their credit rating, they choose them appropriately. We've had no issues really overall. And then you don't have to actually be involved with the tenant, which is extremely nice. There's inspection of the properties on a regular basis to make sure that they're not being damaged in any way when the tenant moves out. There are photographs of the property sent to me. Any problems are identified. If there's any major work that needs to be done, that's taken care of. And then we kind of move on. So honestly, overall, I don't think you can afford not to have Gemstone as your property manager. And one example we had was when property was being cleaned for a tenant to be moved in. This was a few months back. The cleaning company broke the glass of an oven, which was then picked up the next day by Gemstone. I got a call, and it was not something I was going to have to pay for. Contact the cleaning company, their insurance took care of it. So they were pretty much all over it. And wherever they can save me money, if there's a piece of equipment that goes down like a microwave, if it's under warranty, then they go ahead and replace it. If something needs to be fixed that's under warranty, they go out of their way to make sure that I'm not having to pay for major things that can be taken care of without me having to do so. That was bizarre. I think somebody probably hit it with a broom handle and didn't own up to it, but Gemstone was all over it.